The Hargeysa Cultural Center was established in only less than 2 years ago. Hargeysa Cultural Center, taking within this short period, great strides forward with regards to the responsibilities it shoulders as a result of that expectations that has been to this organization by the Somaliland public, the government and the international partners. Hargeysa Cultural Center, together with this parent organization, the Red Sea Cultural Foundations, have embarked on the huge task of addressing the unattended cultural and civil duties of the society, trying hard to leave the scars of the war and the civil strife behind and build an awesome society so as to move forward to join the community of nations. The activities of Hargeysa Cultural Center branch into 4 main areas. The book fair, the most significant activity that the Red Sea Cultural Foundation introduced to the Somaliland cultural scene, are the introduction of the yearly Hargeysa International Book Fair Festival and the creation of the Hargeysa Cultural Center. The Hargeysa International Book Fair has become one of the most important cultural events in an unstable and volatile region. Every summer, writers, publishers, social thinkers from around the world attend this interesting festival. The festival also attracts local writers, singers, painters, musicians, as it is the most important space where these people have the opportunity to showcase their productions. Each year, the festival takes a particular theme around which participants focus their attention. So far, the major theme is that Hargeysa International Book Fair addresses include citizenship and democratization, censorship and freedom of thought, collective memory, and intricacies of public and private space. Plays and films made by local and international artists are also shown in the festival. The festival is held in Hargeysa, the capital. However, people from the regions are active participants. More than 10,000 people visit the week-long event of the festival. Red Sea Cultural Foundation felt that hosting yearly international book fair, despite its importance, is not enough to handle the gaping gaps that exists in the cultural sector in Somaliland. The Red Sea Cultural Foundation has therefore decided to establish the Hargeysa Cultural Center, which was launched in the early 2014 with generous funding of the European Union. The major activities of the Hargeysa Cultural Center include library. One of the critical gaps which Hargeysa Cultural Center has identified was the absence of a public library, a 1 million people city. Hargeysa Cultural Center has therefore one of its top priorities, the establishment of a public library. The Hargeysa Cultural Center Library has in its shelves over 15,000 books. Although a good begins, we feel it is too little with such a sizable town as Hargeysa with 24 of universities. Hargeysa Cultural Center Library is one of the rare places that researchers, university students, and the public come to get some of their scholarly references. Hargeysa Cultural Center Library is particularly important because it houses almost all books, papers, and researches that were made on Somalia over the years past and present. Hargeysa Cultural Center Library provides copies of books on Somalia during the colonial days, which are out of print and which students and researchers will not access anywhere other than Hargeysa Cultural Center Library. The library has become an important hub for students, researchers, and general public. The library is open for more than 12 hours for 6 days a week. One of the serious constraints facing the library is lack of its own space and lack of library expertise in library staff training. Public debates. Another important activity. Hargeysa Cultural Center is organizing debates on important cultural and social issues, book launches and drama and music presentations, providing a space for foreign scholars, particularly those who write about Somalia and the Great Horn in general. Hargeysa Cultural Center encourages dialogue among various social groups, particularly of interest, whereabout on contentious issues such as terrorism and radicalism by inviting prominent sheikh and imams talk on such issues. Hargeysa Cultural Center has created a network of scholars and important personalities who deliver speeches, take part in discussions. Hargeysa Cultural Center has become an important venue for youth groups, university students, aspiring writers, poets, musicians, and painters. Hargeysa Cultural Center gives training on various themes such as courses on Somali language, traditional artifacts and utensils, training on playwriting and acting, and photography. Another major activity of Hargeysa Cultural Center is engaging of children. Hargeysa Cultural Center has hired 2 local actor comedians who from 4 to 6 p.m. entertain kids from around the neighborhood of Hargeysa Cultural Center every Thursday. Every Thursday, the big compound of Hargeysa Cultural Center is full with children, many of them as young as 5 years old. The ages of children who frequent the center vary from as 5 to 12 to 13 years old. Many of these came with parents, mainly with their mothers. Kids also take part in the presentations. The children's program started mainly with storytelling, singing, and is included in the drama presentation by the comedians. The program has become so popular with the children that the center is obliged to continue on its meager resources because it does not get funds from anywhere. Currently, the artistic director of Hargeysa Cultural Center, together with the children, is working on a fully fledged children's play. This play is expected to have wider audience among the kids in the capital. The activities which Hargeysa Cultural Center runs are very significant because all the cultural institutions of the country were destroyed during the prolonged civil strife. The private sector does not seem to invest on cultural projects, and it seems that the government is faced with other pressing priorities to give attention to issues of culture.